Anyway, we'll start this week with the saga of Carl Froch, our WBC super middleweight world champion, and who he'll fight next. Now, Carl was going to come on and fill us in 3 weeks ago. Not literally, obviously. Mick Hennessy was about to pop in last week, and he couldn't. This week, we can speak to Mick, but a light dusting of snow has shut down the entire country. So rather than rubbing shoulders with Bunce, Mick joined us on the line instead. Mick, welcome to the show.
How you doing?
We're very well. Mick, how are you?
Yeah, very well, thanks. Very well.
Fill us in then, Mick. What have you got for us? Tell us the latest.
Well, you know, I wouldn't normally address this situation until contracts are signed, but obviously things have been leaking out from the US and particularly from the Taylor camp. But, you know, what I will say is the fight's looking very, very good at the moment, and we are in negotiations, fine-tuning at the moment, as they'd say, and, you know, it's looking good for mid to late April, and, you know, as you know, it's a well-known fact that both Jermain and Lou DiBella weren't prepared to come to the UK under, you know, any circumstances. I felt that if it went to a purse bid, that I was confident I could win that bid and bring it to the UK, but they weren't prepared. I think they was looking at other fights and they was going to pull out of the purse bid situation. So, you know, myself and Carl, you know, we looked at this situation and, you know, we want the Taylor fight, so we've you know, had to look at going to the US, and we're prepared to do that.
Now, Mick, are you saying it's closer now than it's been at any point in the last 10 months, really, because he was going to fight him in an eliminator? Are you saying it's the closest it's ever been right now?
By far, Steve.
Okay,
yeah,
boy.
By far. It hasn't really been close before. It's been a lot of hot air, to be honest, but this is as close as you can get. And I personally think, I'm very optimistic, I think the fight will be done. But as I say, it took myself and Carl to be prepared to come to the US, otherwise the fight was never going to happen. And I really feel that, you know, tribute needs to be paid to Carl, because for someone who's just won the most prestigious belt and won it in the fight of the year, and in his first defence to be prepared to go to the US and fight a marquee name like Taylor, you know, I can't say enough about him. He's a proper old-school fighter and a warrior.
Now, Mick, can I ask you this? I mean, wouldn't it have made some sense, though, and as a sort of big thank you for the loyal fans, to have had an easier fight? I mean, plenty of champions, don't go naming names, plenty of champions in British boxing history. Take a nice, easy one after a great fight like that. Couldn't you have had a nice one back at the Nottingham Arena, a nice, simple one?
We definitely could have, Steve, because the way it was working was they was going to pull out of the purse bids, and Carl would have been able to make a voluntary, and that was pretty straightforward, as everyone knows that.
Yep.
But you know, at the end of the day, Carl, as I say, Carl's a proper fighter. He believes he's the best in the world, bar none. So do I. So does Robert McCracken. So, you know, he wants to fight the big names, and this is very, very rarely done, that a champion from these shores in his first defence goes over and takes on the best. And as I say, he's you know, for me, you know, we've got some big names like obviously Calzaghe, Ricky Hatton, David Hay, and Carl Froch. But for me, Carl Froch leads the pack.
Now, Mick, with this fight, you know, you're telling me, and I believe you, it's as close as it's been, even though they've announced it over there, as you know. I know it hasn't pleased you very much, probably hasn't pleased the TV bosses that much. But you're saying it's as close as you've been so far, and you're feeling confident. What if it were to fall apart next week? Would you finally walk away? Would you have to say, look, we can't do this anymore?
Yeah, I mean, if that happens, I mean, all that's outstanding really are formalities, simple requests, courtesies. That you know, that's what's being fine-tuned at the moment. And if they can't be agreed to, then, you know, as far as I'm concerned, then the other side definitely doesn't want the fight. So if that happened, we'd have no choice.
Okay. Now let me just ask you this, Mick. I mean, we've done Carl Froch, mid to late April. That suits me. Jermain Taylor. I think it's definitely going to happen.
Suits your personal plans. Fits in with the holidays.
It fits in with all of that. It fits in with British boxing's plans, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's a cracking fight. You know, December was one of the highlights. Personally, being in Nottingham ringside when he beat Pascal was one of my highlights from 25 years of being ringside. I thought it was a great night. Now, Mick, I've got to ask you about Big George Foreman 2. Well, don't laugh, I'm asking you a question.
Tyson Fury, yeah?
That's the one. Otherwise known as Errol Flynn or Big George Foreman 2. Here he is, look, Errol Flynn's on screen now. What's happening with him?
On the back of your comments there, Steve, I think I'm going to bring out a bigger and better grill, the Tyson Fury grill. Yeah,
Well, our colleagues on ITV described him as the next George Foreman. They said he looks just like George Foreman.
Yeah, no, definitely, and you can see the way he's relentless, and he throws shots from all angles and big shots. You know, he's a devastating fighter. I'm really excited about Tyson, but he's fighting on the undercard of John Thaxton's European title defence on the 28th of Feb. He's basically fighting every month. He's fighting on the Wayne Elcock, Matthew Macklin fight. And if this fight comes off in the US, he'll be fighting on that undercard.
Now, Mick, you know, so you've worked hard and tirelessly for like 10 solid hard years, even longer, really working with Robert McCracken. Now, and you've always been a terrific matchmaker, and you've made great matches. You made the right matches, even if it meant holding out like you did with Carl. You stuck to your guns. Now, with this kid Fury, with George Foreman Light, I mean, he wants to definitely run, Mick. Can you pull him back, or would you really match him with Sam Sexton, like I've read about? Would you actually make that fight?
Absolutely, Steve. That was genuine. That was genuine that we would take that fight. And they've basically, you know, they've basically said no. We even spoke to their promoters, who seemed like they was up for the fight, and then they came back and said that the kid weren't ready. But yeah, because when you say about holding Tyson back, of course, in the right circumstances, but I believe in this kid. I've seen him sparring with top class fighters. I've seen him take big digs in the gym. For me, he's the full package. He's something very special, and to be the way he is at 20 years of age. And every time you speak to him about opponents, the first thing that comes up, he wants bigger and better opponents. And you know, obviously, like that last kid, he done a job on him, and you know, he had 20 knockouts in 21 fights. Yeah. Regardless of his opposition, that kid's a KO artist, Zeller.
Oh, so. Yeah.
You know, we're confident in his chin and his heart. We've got to adjust him to the rounds. That's what we've got to do.
You know, and that's that thing about, you know, there's doing road work and there's doing road work and there's building up stamina and there's building up stamina, and it does take, as you know, it takes time, Mick. Listen, I'm going to have to kick you off the line, mate, not because it's nothing personal. You appreciate that.
Cheers, Steve.
Give my regards to Big Boy, and also good luck with your negotiations with this Arkansas New York mob.
Thanks, Steve. I'll need it.
Nico.
Cheers, Nick. Appreciate your time. Steve, occasionally I'm a bit naive in these things. Do you think that perhaps the Americans haven't given Carl Froch enough respect following what he did to Jean Pascal? Because I assumed, after winning the WBC belt in the manner he did, and it was, as you said, a fight of the year, live on network television, that all of a sudden Carl Froch would be the main man and everyone would queue up to fight him, but it doesn't seem to have happened.
Well, I think they're queuing up to fight him, but they're queuing up
in their backyard.
In their backyard and on their terms. When really, as Mick said to me in a conversation a couple of weeks ago, they're talking, that's Lou DiBello, who's a great guy, and Jermain Taylor's people, immediate management team, they're talking like they're the champions, like they can dictate terms. I think this fight's going to happen, to answer the various people, Kevin Drysdale, Joe Neal. I think this fight is going to happen, as Mick says, mid to late April. But he can't jump the gun. He can't go announcing things until it's sorted out in America. And when it happens, I'm telling you, Ricky Hatton said recently, put your house on me to beat Pacquiao. Well, I'm telling you, he'll beat this guy, Jermain Taylor. That's why Jermain Taylor's been holding out. He's been looking at there is an escape route from the inevitability of facing Froch and getting beaten. As simple as that. I'm convinced it. Lou DiBella said on this show, and you were sitting there on this show, Lou DiBella said last year when they were mandated to fight in a WBC final eliminator, he said, Steve, why should I fight that guy? Why should I fight that guy? I.e., because Lou always talks like he's the one who gets in the ring. Why should I fight that guy? We're going to fight someone easy. They did. They beat Jeff Lacey, who's never been the same since Kawasaki ruined him, and Bish, Bosh and Boogie. It brings us up to date now.
It should be an absolute cracker when it happens. Now, that is the end of one.